Boom, and we're live. Well, welcome back, my friend. Well, it's man tonight. Before we go any further, it's kind of like I got kind of like two of my greatest colleagues sort of sat with me tonight, man. So I'm going to sort of start from my left to my right. How are we doing tonight, Daddy, and how are we doing tonight, Lee?
Hey, I'm good. I'm doing really well. Thanks, Tim, for being here tonight, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Tim, it's a great day and evening, and it's beautiful sunset. I imagine it's probably sunrise around this time for you. And thank you again for inviting me, and this is great.
Well,
And
one of the things
you down.
No, cool. And one of the things I really wanted to sort of concentrate on, and I know you reached out to me this week, and well, let's just start this at the very beginning, David. Tell us sort of like the since we last spoke about the updates on the voting app that you've got going with the SafeExchange.
Yeah. So with regard to the voting app, yeah. So most recently, I published the Windows version of the voting application. That is a binary that you can download it from the releases, and you can double click it on Windows and it'll open the app, and you can import your private key and then upload the proposal from the website vote.safeexchange and make your selection, download your vote, and then upload it to the website and submit your vote. So like it kind of took me a little while to get it all together. But it's now all together, and a few people tried it. I think actually one person tried it, but I tried it on both platforms, Linux and Windows, and it's working perfectly fine. So we're gonna relaunch it because it did take a little while to get that all together, and I published the Linux video and yet to publish the Windows video, but that'll be soon.
Perfect, man. I mean, one of the things that I've been sort of fascinated watching, this whole sort of process with, we're going on with the voting app and stuff. And one of the questions I've been asked since our last conversation, and maybe you can sort of, allude to that and highlight that more. How much time are people given from when this start button starts to the end, of the proposal? Or that was something that maybe from the last conversation, a lot of people came back to me and said, "Oh, okay." And the other question that was the other second one to that, if people did want to get involved now, which I had a couple of people come out to me, reach to me from my last conversation and said, okay, well, from a very layman's perspective, what's the best way for someone, and what would your advice be if someone wants to come and go, okay, I want to buy some SecCoin and to have a ability to vote on the voting app? What would be your advice on, is that worth doing? And if so, where would be the best sort of paths to follow to buy SecCoin? And secondly, which is the first part of the question, is there going to be a time limit on this voting application?
Yeah, totally. So to get SecCoin, you go to bittrex.com, you put Bitcoins, and you can pick SEC, and you search SEC and you can buy SecCoins there. The vote has after the last time we were talking, I did add a ability for a person to make a proposal that terminates based on block height. So I did pick the current proposal, the test proposal, to terminate after 2 weeks. So it's like 2016 blocks. So definitely, if someone's following the story, what we're going to do is build a blockchain that affords anonymous transactions, anonymous contracts, so you can buy things anonymously over this blockchain. There's a new coin for mining, and the throttling of distribution should take a long time so that it's fair throughout the duration of mining. Initial coins for that blockchain, assuming that the vote passes, will seed that network with the existing SafeExchange coin holders. So it's totally worth it to have SafeExchange coins, assuming that you understand that we're going to build our own blockchain. That blockchain will have new coins. We're going to pick some amount that we can decide soon. How many coins go to the SafeExchange coin holders, existing ones. The point is that they can start using it and disseminating the the coins and make contracts and buy products or put products onto the network, and kind of gives an incentive and a reward to everybody who's been with us so far. So yeah, like buying SafeExchange coin, which means you can vote and help us decide that the blockchain that we're going to build is the way to go, versus waiting around for any other platform to finish and fulfill this. Then into the future, the blockchain network will give transaction makers the ability to get a piece of that transaction. So that could create a dividend for a wallet builder. So SafeExchange coin will redeem dividends from that network through the SafeExchange wallet that I will make. So yeah, there's plenty of incentive for holding the coin, buying the coin for the initial seed coins. So yeah, it's great. So 2 weeks time, the voting will take place. I'll publish that voting sometime soon. I want to say in the next couple of days. I did try to get it today, but I had some engagements that kind of took my time today up until we had to delay this for 2 hours because of that. And thanks, Tim, for letting us come on, even 2 hours later. That's really awesome of you. Thank you a lot. And Lee, thanks for joining us nonetheless. Yeah, so that's that.
So, okay, well, the next sort of, the point I really wanted to sort of focus on, and reading the 3 proposals. Now, option 2, now that was one that I won't just sit and sort of like chew your brain on, my friend. Now, option 2 says that we build the blockchain platform you're going to do, but with the proviso that other platforms may come along. So my question to you would be, how flexible are you to opening up to different platforms if they come along? And equally, if you do go with one platform, would you have to be like secure to that, or are you very much I suppose in the essence of what I'm trying to be with 99 is saying, okay, we're fit into anything because we're just trying to offer a tool for anybody. And I'm sure it's the same with Wiki being with what Lee's doing over there. And it's so that's my question to you. I mean, how flexible are you to be if, say, the next year, a brand new platform that none of us have heard of come across, and it's wow, this is just creams everything we've ever told about before, and it's just superior to everything before. But how flexible are you to integrate with that platform?
Yeah, so it's kind of like once you get into the motion, it's hard to stop the motion. So once we decide to take on the blockchain, so I go into the perpetuity until I'm done with the blockchain. So the risk to consider is like, does something better technologically come around 6 months from now? So we vote in blockchain, I'm gonna build the blockchain network. 6 months later, when we launch, is there something greater than that? In my estimation, it's unlikely. That's why I'm pushing forward on getting this thing going right now. I think that what we're standing to build right now is novel. That's the future for, that's the future for what we're doing. And I think the world, like once we start telling the world and the world adopts what we're doing, then, we wouldn't want to deviate from that plan, because we would invest a lot of our energy into promoting something to other people. And if we swap out to some other platform, we would have to derail ourselves and change course, you see? So I think a year later, because I'm talking 6 months, by April is 6 months from now. If in a year there's some other platform that we can tap dividends from, then that's interesting. I mean, the whole reason for MateSafe being tapped into was because of app developer coins, and that's a novel idea. Not many platforms offering that, if any at all. So we're going to offer that, and we're going to tap into that ourselves. You see, so, and be the dominant promoter of our wallet and our expertise. So yeah, that being said, I'm kind of like very much at, let's go option 1. Let's limit the focus, and if in the future, let's make a proposal for another network to tap into. That's what I mentioned That's what I mentioned in the forum post, where it's pretty straightforward. We build our own, we launch it, promote it. You know, it's going to work. It's going to do great things for people. Or we, you know, always have this like small part of ourselves trying to go someplace else. You know what I mean? So I'm willing to work with the group, so it's fine with me what they decide. And but yeah, I'm really excited for the blockchain. Yeah.
No, that's you know, as I say, I think it's really really inspiring just to hear things gone, because one of the things that I kind of lingered in my mind, Daniel, after our last conversation, and I mean, I put, it's kind of really focused on it, and it was one of the things that really sort of, speaking to Lee in private about this, just recently, was kind of like how many, or how more to the point, how few people in the world have actually got the kind of knowledge and the will to actually sort of push this forward right now in the world. And it's kind of, that was really kind of, I don't know, it sort of stuck in my mind for 3 or 4 weeks. I've been thinking about that very, very element, and that's why I was asking you about option 2, although I think more correctly, and I think more of mine, inside me says, well, yeah, you're right. I don't think anything's going to pop up in the next 6 months because of the point you were alluding to. There's very few people. And that's the point. You're on the cutting edge of the bleeding vapor. That's how far along the road you are.
Yeah, it's kind of unrelated to SafeExchange and all that, but related to blockchain. So like part of my time is directly used on consulting for blockchains, and so it's just where I'm at this point, and I'm glad for it. So happy to put that here.
Well, I mean, I was relating this on a sort of a wider sort of context, because I think it's something, and I know it's another sort of side to you. What one of the many tools you have in your armor is you write for Coin Idol. So you're writing about the blockchain technology, and it was something that me and I was discussing this with Lee the other night, and we were saying about how the uptake of just Bitcoin and generally hasn't been maybe what. If we'd spoken to each of us 3 or 4 years ago or 2 years ago, we would have maybe thought it would have been. So that's why I keep going back to, I think it's essential that you plow forward and actually have solutions built, because this is something that until the actual proposals are there and actual platforms are there, then the uptake's never going to follow. So that was my roundabout way of saying, because I think we need people to push platforms forward, and as I said many times, build rather than just talk, because this world is full of people talking, not people building. That's why I've always tipped my hat to you, my friend, because every day you go out there and build.
Yeah, definitely building, man. Yeah, there's a lot of innovative ideas to put forward, seeds including, N99 platform included. So like, there's a lot of things that need to get put forward because there are valid ideas that need to be tested in the marketplace. So SafeExchange is one of them. The network we're going to launch is one of them. I mean, just the sheer basis of voting. Something that gave me a nice inspiration was someone voted 113 million SafeExchange coins to option 2. So that makes me feel good, because that includes building a blockchain. So like, I'm all for it. Even though people want to be reserved and want to go option 2, that's okay. That's okay, as long as the blockchain is getting built. That's perfectly fine with me. Yeah.
Exactly, and I just think it's, I don't know. I just think it's essential, like we were saying, that that platforms get built and get done, because I don't know. One of the things that again, I think it needs to be widely discussed is I don't know, and I think it's been one of the things that's been kind of really sort of woken up to me in the last sort of really sort of aware of it. How there are a lot of people that are talking a good game, and it's just I'm repeating myself, but it's actually the building the process. And I think sometimes people can not understand what this part of this creative process is. A lot of time it's just hours and hours away, stuck in rooms coding away, doing stuff that nobody ever sees, and then things happen on a that's what I've been excited the last 2 weeks, thinking, oh wow, there you are, and bang, up comes a video about how to use it on Linux, and there's another one on Windows.
It's exciting for me as well. The funny thing was, remember when I guess it's last month when I demoed the voting app, and it wasn't showing the the results, but the results were there. Just the CSS was hiding them. The styling was hiding the results. So for 3 days of time, I was like checking my code. I asked other people to check the code, and some colleagues of mine, I asked them to check the code, and they're all like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's perfectly fine." But then finally, I just ran to the browser, and I'm like, "Why the hell? Where is the value? I see it's coming in. Where is it? Show it to me." Wow, it's like below the screen, and all I needed to do was add a background to the screen, and there it was. So that was neat. Yeah, it's fun when it's fun when it works, and you find those tiny little bugs that they're bugs, but they're not bugs, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just again,
we're done. We're done building the voting app. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that the voting app is done, and that now the really fun stuff, the really fun stuff, can begin. Yeah.
okay. I mean, again, just on a very technical level. I mean, will you be? I mean, when you said that, like, oh, great, that that sense of relief, like the voting app's done. Does this mean that you will now transfer your computing language? I mean, were you building like in maybe say like Java in one, and then you go off and do Rust, and you enjoy one more, and because I've known you for a while now, friend, and I know sometimes I've seen you just literally just immerse yourself into like the world of Rust, and then you come out of it and like, and then you go. I remember when you did it Ethereum. I mean, I remember you went down that rabbit hole, and you were just like in and out of that, and it was just like you got sucked into this world of Ethereum, and you came out of that. So my point being is, so when you mentioned it before about the voting one, will this mean you'll be concentrating on a different language like Rust, and do you find that more enjoyable than the tiresome process of actually trying to do things for Windows and all that kind of stuff? So what you're trying to allude to?
It's kind of like specialization of labor and stuff like that. Where on the voting app, I was diving into in Rust, diving back up into, like you said, like diving back into the JavaScript, building a front ends, learning that JavaScript, learning the front end manipulation. That was kind of like a roller coaster, because you're getting into that and then pulling back out and jumping into another discipline, and I was on 3 disciplines on the voting app, whereas on the blockchain I'll be in one discipline, just straight Rust. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking forward to, where my focus is directly on one thing. And the voting app also had a website, so it's like 2 user interfaces, a whole crypto library, a service for that crypto library, 2 user interfaces, and the website, like I mentioned. So it was kind of much, not too much, but it was kind of like that part, then package it all up, make the videos, and then launch that thing. So yeah, for me, we needed that voting app. We needed that voting app anyway, and I'm glad I didn't wait around for anything else to host that voting app. So we got it. Like, now we can emphasize with cryptographic integrity what we're talking about. So yeah, that's really exciting for me. And going into the blockchain will be all Rust. So like, yeah, that'll be a relief. I'll just dive in without having to breathe in, breathe out. I could just exhale completely on that. You know what I mean? So yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, one of the things that I find fascinating about people like yourself, and when you go kind of down these rabbit holes and it's very much, as I've always said, about this creative process. So one of the things that I try to do at every when I finish a piece of art or I finish a piece of music, just for my own mental, just so I know it, mental sort of kind of note to myself, think, oh, what have I learned through this process? So if I ever had to go back to it, or if ever anyone came to me and said afterwards and said, okay, look, I'm going to think about going down that. What can you teach me? Just, I do it. So my question to you, Daddy, what have you learned through this? This, mate. I'll hold this back. Let's make this a very simple. Well, just let's make the beginning of this, the beginning of the voting app and actually doing that. What processes or lessons have you learned that you think have been that for someone like, for us at N99 or anyone following, maybe go, okay, that's some, some tips and some lessons that we could learn so we're not falling down and stumbling over the same hurdles.
Yeah, I think the voting app itself on GitHub is very simple, and it exposes a lot of interesting concepts, like making the UI with that you can double click. I mean, that's once you did it, it's easy, like now I can do that like every time, 1,000 times over again at ease. But it's the first time doing it that's what is so creepy about it, So Electron, JavaScript, and Rust are a fascinating combination where you can build a system in a very rapid development language like Rust. Then you can make a great user functionality with TypeScript, which is basically JavaScript, with Angular 2, and throw it into a portable browser with Electron. And I think that that's a paradigm of how to produce applications for people on any platform. Yeah. So once you do it once, it's all fine. For example, Windows. I wasn't using Windows for such a long time. I had to dig up a laptop that had Windows on it and then learn the environment, how to deal with Rust in the Windows. 12 hours later, it's fine, everything's fine. I could do it 1,000 times again now, but it's that first time. And Rust is amazing because you can compile a binary that works on any platform. So I take the little app that I built that does all the voting magic and plug it into the folder of the UI. And now the UI, you double click and it spawns the visualization that has the Angular 2 in it, which is that when you click the button, it does the magic that interacts with the Rust app. And that Rust app can run on any place. It can run on any platform. So it's brilliant. Like, it's the way to go. It's the way to go. And it's so easy to use. Rust is so easy to use. Electron is so easy to use. Like, you get the hang of it, and that's your go-to from now on. For me, for the rest of my life, until something easier comes around, Yeah.
Well, how you're describing this very process, I always go back to it. It's like a creative. I was saying this earlier on. It's like me doing, I may spend months sitting there doing integrate, ink on paper, really detailed pieces of work. And then you get to the point, okay, yes, fair enough, great, I've achieved what I wanted to do. But there's a freedom. I've always said this is that, there's a discipline in doing ink on paper. But when I get paint, I can be more creative. It's that freedom, and that's almost like what you're alluding to, how you feel about Rust. It's like almost like I'm now looking forward to sort of seeing like, okay, now you're back into the palette and the oil, the canvases that you like to use that gives you this. I'm going to be. It's going to be fascinating to see what your creativity is going to come out after you've done all these weeks and weeks of being down the pit and working in something you don't want to do. So now you've had this release. It's going to be fascinating to see what you're saying, because that's what it feels like you're alluding to. It's kind of like that analogy, So I'm
the great thing that I gained from this is I can I can instruct any person to follow through with, for example, the wallet, to the blockchain. It'd be a piece of cake to, give someone who's well versed in JavaScript and explain them precisely the path I want to take, and for them to construct that. So yeah, that's a big thing. Like, you know, I worked with it. I got a good feel for it. I'm talking the front end stuff, and wow, I'm all the better for it, really. Um, you know, that'll be so exciting to work with someone who's so good in the front end area, and I can direct them on that. You see, well, I couldn't say that 3 months ago. You know, let's say 4 months ago, I couldn't say that. When I started working on the Angular 2 side of things, I wouldn't be able to say, you know, I wouldn't be able to know where to direct someone around on building some front end, and you know, that's all changed. That's all very much different. And we're deployed. You know, we're deployed. So it's that kind of passed last month, and now we're kind of like looking back and that's a good feeling.
So Dali, Tim also mentioned that you made a player.
A media player?
Music player.
Music player. No, I don't think I. Tim, did you say I made a media player?
No, I was mentioning to Lee that you had when we were talking about N99, you'd had the idea of having a player, you know, where you could put your tracks and stuff. That's what I was mentioning.
Ah, yeah, you mean into a blockchain?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have an idea where you can build a blockchain and you can store music files into the blockchain. So like that is something that is something that I'm sure that is being done by other projects, but they don't have the same kind of approach to the purpose of that. More,
So
yeah.
do you think that it could be done like WebRTC, where you can actually start to inject embedded web videos and audios, like right into your HTML5 page, like as a sort of a gaming environment, like with using Quintus type stuff?
What's Quintus?
Quintus is a really cool node that you can use alongside. It's a Angular, so that you can begin to build gaming and type environment. You know, basically build a game with inside the HTML5 page.
Ah, I see. And pull the data from the blockchain.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, I was just, with what Tim had said, my mind started going crazy, and I was like, well, you know, what about being able to take something like WebRTC and use, you know, not just a media player, but have it like a YouTube sort of thing, you know, where everybody can start to put their media into it. And that's the kind of thing that I really want to plug into if I'm going to start building a, you know, application, because I want it to be an application-based website, you know, just all inside your HTML5 page. On the front end, and it's HTML5, and then your Angular modules, and then, you know, all the TypeScript, and then this WebRTC was the only thing I was thinking of, but I was like, that's just not connected to the blockchain, you know, and it's not exactly what I want, but it's sort of the latest cutting edge thing going right now. You know, yeah, it's an open source Google project.
The thing that I think about is, so you got people who own the content, and you want to render it onto your web page. So imagine you target a blockchain, and that blockchain is like compensating people for the gets that's going on to onto the blockchain. You see what I mean? So yeah, you can, I'm sure that you can start rendering files on demand into a web page, and then where does the data come from? You can pull it from a blockchain.
So it sort of replaces like MySQL, or, you know,
yeah, totally, completely replaces MySQL. And imagine that blockchain you're pulling from has some compensation mechanism for the artists that are using it. See what I mean? So like the more plays something gets, the more, yeah.
How do we get the seed to have value at this point? Like, once we have the application, we inject that seed. I suppose it has value right now, the resources that are within the seed, and then taking that and implementing it as the reward for, So I'm trying to figure out how, if I'm going to build I'm just playing around, and I'm still just at the learning end of this. But being able to create a application inside a native environment, whether it be your smartphone or your laptop, whatever, and have it gaming styled, like it's just a cool website. It's not just stagnant, links and text, but more dynamic, and
yeah. So that's the reason for doing Angular JS and stuff.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all doable. Have you seen something called React JS?
No, what's that?
React JS is something that Facebook creates, and it's so similar to Angular JS. I just was throwing that out there if you heard of it. But with things like Angular JS, it's on yeah, you're able to render information in real time. So once you load the application, the information you're looking for can be grabbed without reloading the page, right? Why is that important? That's important because when you download a website, all the content has to be downloaded too. But now imagine that you have some dynamic way for downloading the content. And so the user downloads just the web page, then they figure out what they want to download, then they select that, and then it gets retrieved from the data storage, whether it's a blockchain or a MySQL, and then it gets rendered, it gets sent back to the user. So this way users don't have to download a whole massive amount of things. They don't have to follow links and re-render pages. They just stay on the same page, click the button, get the content they asked for, and it's there, and without refreshing the page. That's the whole point of these like Angular 2, React, and Angular technologies. So that means when you're on a mobile device and you get to a website that, let's say it's downloading music or there's a game on it, you don't need to download a whole massive amount of information. You download just the application itself that's in the Angular in the app.js that corresponds to your Angular code. And then the mechanisms there are leveraged by the user. So let's say in the example, it's like, let's say there's a button to play some track that gets pulled from the blockchain. So you're not going to download all the tracks, and you're not going to change the browser. You're going to download the website once, which means you're going to visit the web page, download the information, which is happening all the time, no matter what you do. But now, when you interact with the buttons on the website, you click it one time, and it gets the content it needs. So maybe there's a button to download, not download, but to play the track. So you can pull up the names of tracks, or even you could click a button to send you the names of tracks. Then you click to play the track, downloads from the blockchain, plays the track for you, and you save yourself the overhead of re-downloading the web page again. So that's fantastic for mobiles, and it's a great user experience on desktops.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the cool part of what I've been learning about Angular, and then the fact that it can bring in Node, and it's so the diverse, all the different modules that you can put into it. And the only thing that I was like trying to figure out is how do I implement something like Daemon Saw? You know what I mean? Like, how do I take that and plug that in, or
yeah, I'm sure they have an API that you can read up on, and I guess I'm not totally familiar with how it operates, but maybe there's some identity for the files and the instructions for how to obtain that file, and in your app you would use those instructions. Point to, you click the button, and that button, it has to get the names of those files somehow, but then you click the button of the name, it goes to the destination on the daemon saw network gets the file back without. The main point was you never have to reload the you don't have to refresh the page. It just appears onto the already rendered page. See what I mean?
Right onto the HTML5.
Yeah.
And that's so cool because it's like you said, there's not 100 different pages. It's all just all built in within that page.
Exactly. So if you get the usage experience down, you never have to leave the same page. Excuse me. Yeah,
which makes for a lot faster loading time and keeps people more interested and spending more time in your platform essentially.
Yeah, those technologies are a must-have now these days. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know it's a bit of a left field turn, chaps, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and it's something that Lee, we were talking about the other day, and I thought it's maybe sort of good to sort of talk about these things, and rather than in private, talk in public. And it was all about how we are meat machines and how to look after ourselves. Now, this fascinates me because I know, Dally, you're one, for example. You very much put yourself on this whole pathway of doing it, and we've talked about it many times on this podcast about your journey and how how much you spend your life swimming in these murky waters. But I know from just knowing you, my time I've known you, one of the things that you really hold quite strong in your kind of like discipline of life is tea. And it's not just just like how I speak of Brits over here where it's just like, oh yeah, bug a bit of tea in it, tea bag, bit of milk, bit of sugar, you're away, chaps. Way no, you're very much very much style. So I really got to kind of talk about this because I think with some of the situations, and we don't want to go into them in public, but we've all kind of recently known people who are lost or and are suffering in life, and I think looking after this meat machine that we walk around in is essential. And I think, I know it's something, like I say, the tea is something you very much hold a great deal of confidence in. So kind of allude, I know it more, but allude to people listening about why, what tea holds, the benefits, and why you have it such a central part of your daily discipline.
Yeah, I guess like people pick tea or coffee kind of thing. And so if you consider that for a second, like most people think it's about the caffeine. But in tea, it's kind of, I guess you metabolize the caffeine in tea in a different way. So it kind of like has this crescendo effect on your body where like, it's like eventually you reach a point where you're in this Zen mode and literally your brain is just throbbing. If you're constantly drinking tea throughout the day, actually I wanted to make a cup of tea, but we started to get on the air. And we were having a really good conversation earlier. And I was drinking a ton of tea throughout the day today. And I wanted to keep going with that. But like I said, like I started the description, tea literally soothes you. It doesn't create a hype in your body. It first of all, it's water. It's not so acidic at all. And you're staying hydrated in a better way than if you drink juice or than drinking soda or something. Then you get this mild caffeination that kind of dissipates. You get like just barely a dose of the caffeine. It never really reaches you. But in just these small sparks where your brain just kind of reaches this Zen mode, like I mentioned earlier. And that, for me personally, helps me really focus in on things that, like, I'm able to tune into something and get to the bottom of it. And while I'm coding, especially, like, you have to think of the problem. You always have to identify what's the issue right here that I'm solving and how to approach it with software, with the logic. How do I command the machine to, where am I going? And now I want to command the machine. Now give me the letters and the words. And you're asking your mind for that. And you drink tea. And you have something to hold. You drink the tea. It's warm, first of all. cold drinks kind of they create mucus, you know, and warm drinks they maintain your homeostasis. You know, your body is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So why wouldn't you drink something that's compatible with the temperature of the water on you? You know what I mean? So that's another factor of why tea. And if you add sugar to Earl Grey has the bergamot taste. So it's a orange taste, it's a citrus taste. So it's like a liquid candy. And that, you know, that's a way to consume sugar, and you know, I could go a whole day and forget about eating as long as I'm drinking tea. So yeah, I love tea. Yeah.
Look, I think there's two things there that I think you know, I kind of almost want to sort of like, you know, linger upon and kind of focus on, because one of the things that in my time knowing you, I've said this to your face before many times, you know, so I'm not saying anything. I'm not, you know, for I've never known anyone work so hard, and you know, this whole thing what you just talked about then, you were eruditely speaking upon. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, you know, we joked about it before. You do 36-hour days, you know, and it's kind of like you go down these rabbit holes, as I was mentioning earlier on, and you know, you're suddenly, you know, send me a message saying, "Oh yeah, I've just gone down the Ethereum rabbit hole. I've just gone up and down that thing," and I'm like, and this, like you're saying, it's almost like you're what you're alluding to is that the tea in itself is almost like the fuel that helps you. Because you're doing it to, like you said, to further your knowledge and to do things. So it's, and what I'm finding fascinating is that I've been reading a lot more recently about this. Is that especially in San Francisco, ironically enough, that there's now groups of maybe it's small groups, but they're doing these, you know, 48-hour, 63-hour fasts and just drinking what you just said, teas and stuff, and then they're building these new, you know, applications, and they're finding, and they're coming out and saying how they can get so much more done, and they all the things you've just spoken upon. Now, one of the things I got to sort of go again, and that was one thing just on that general one, but one of the things that's fascinating as well, and I kind of did point to it, and I'll sort of do my, you know, sort of like the typical Englishman, but over here you'll find, I would say, you know, definitely the majority of everybody will always put milk in their tea. It's almost like that's the British way. You put a bit of milk, bit of tea, that's it, you're done. Good jobs are good. But you don't allude to milk at all, which no, I find fascinating.
Milk for babies. Milk is for babies, Tim.
No, I find it's, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just find it's fascinating because, I mean, what you, I know that to be true for myself. I'm not, you know, going around the world, but most people around the world, they don't drink tea. If they do, it will be with just by itself with some sugar. But then the Brits, we all just pile it on, and it's honestly, I mean, it's kind of like the staple drink. Of, oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I got it.
So you know, the funny thing is I drink mate tea a lot. I don't know, Dali, if you ever tried mate, but it's just it's like a Peruvian drink or something, and you can get it in a gourd. I put it in a glass. I've got a nice shellac on the glass. I never actually washed this glass in this little straw here that the Bimbella.
No.
I mean, it's a yerba mate, right?
Yeah, it's a yerba mate. Here's this Bimbella. Here's this cup right here. It's got a shellac. I don't know if you can see it, but it's I drink tea every day. You know?
Here's my teacup.
Yeah, your teacup is a lot cleaner than my teacup.
It's got the mineral from the water. When I wash it, it's got a little stuff on it from the minerals.
That's a good teacup. It's like a beaker.
Yeah, it's a beaker. Yeah. I got this for like $2 on sale. No one wanted it.
That's awesome.
It might be too big for everybody.
No, it's Lee. You mentioned that the yerba mate, so I've got to ask you a couple of questions though, because as you know, I live down in Argentina, and that is all that the Argentines drank was just yerba mate, and it was always in a gourd, never, you know, very rarely in a glass like you do. But my first sort of question to you: do you prefer it hot or cold? Because I'm not a tea drinker, and I'm not generally a hot drinker. I drink mostly just cold fluid, so I prefer the mate with cold with just a tiny amount of sugar in it, and that's it. I mean, I used to, it's amazing stuff. But again, I'm asking you, Lee, would you prefer hot, cold, or you just whatever the moment takes you in?
Well, actually, it's a funny thing. So with mate, what I do is I boil hot water, and then I put my tea in the glass, and I put cold water halfway, and that soaks while the water is boiling, and then I put boiling water for the rest of the half, and it actually just makes it like Dally said, like body temperature. And so that's how I drink my mate. Just, you can drink it instantly. You don't have to burn yourself. It's all good.
Yeah, just blow on the surface, and you remove that like scalding part of the heat, and just sit, and then yeah. So that's why I use the big cup, because it has a big surface area, and I can skim the heat off the top and take a nice sip. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I mean, and I'm not kind of like pull the curtain too much on people's lives, but I do know kind of Daniel, that your process is just a bit more kind of that. I mean, you have the towel, it's almost like a Japanese tea ceremony when you make tea, man. As I'm watching now on the screen, man, it's
Yeah, I've been waiting for this right now. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for this.
But it isn't. I'm correct. I mean, maybe again, because I'm not a great tea drinker or all of that. But is the yerba mate, is that the same tree as what tea is from, or is it from the same family, or is it a completely different? I mean, again, my knowledge on yerba mate is about as much as I know what it is, and just generally. So, Lee, you probably know more of that. I mean, is it related to the tree plant at all?
It's a leaf. It's like some kind of leaf on the yerba mate plant.
Yes, what I'm saying. But is the yerba mate plant, is that in the same family as tea?
I don't think it's in the same family as tea. No,
Because
not
it's
like green tea or regular tea.
Because it has a very bitter taste. I mean, maybe I'm not, like I say, a connoisseur of teas, but when I lived in Argentina, I used to find it really quite bitter, which I quite enjoyed. But down there, everyone would be piling just piles of sugar and stuff, especially anyone who wasn't, from Argentina. So that's what I'm saying. Whereas tea is quite, well, it has so many different tastes and stuff like that. But on a general one, it's more bitter. So I'm wondering if it was from the same family as the tea plant. I don't know.
I mean, it has a bit of its own bitterness, but I don't think it is in the same family exactly. It's a little shrub, I think. It's what? It's a type of holly, I guess. And yeah, so it's in the holly plant family, and I don't add sugar to it. I like the bitterness, the astringent. It's actually very alkaline, so it balances your pH.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing
really
I remember. Like yerba mate, I never put sugar in it. Yeah, it was like good as is.
Yeah.
But I think tea is the same. Like there's no different species of tea, and it only green tea and black tea and I guess oolong tea. They only differ by how you roast or how they cure the leaves. And the taste.
Yeah, precisely right.
Yeah, and the taste differs based on where the tea was grown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You learn something new every day. Because I mean, you're quite. Again, this is something. Again, we've gone down the tea rabbit hole here. But you're very much an Earl Grey man, aren't you, Mister Schaller?
Yeah, I love the taste. I love the taste. But now that I think about it, doing this tea drinking, I've been doing that since I'm like a kid, but I never understood why until I got a lot older. So, like, I don't know. I always would buy some special teacup and always drink tea. So.
And do you think just watching you now, that going through what you're doing, it goes back to what I was trying to allude to. It's a ceremonial thing, and then there's nothing else. All you're doing is calming your body down, taking that, almost disciplined state of going, "Oh, okay," and then and you're treating it, dude. I mean, the way you just watching you on screen prepare tea compared to to the average Englishman making a cup of tea, man, it's what I'm saying. You're in that Japanese style, which I'm fascinated by, because I think the whole part of the tea ceremony in Japan wasn't so much just about drinking the tea. In fact, that's almost the least of it. It was about the whole focusing your mind, dropping all the stress and all the things that you may be, the synapses that are tied inside your brain and stuff, and just having a discipline where you can just relax yourself. And then at the end of that is drinking the tea and all the things that you just said, all that good energy it gives you and all the good things. But it's a state of mind that you're playing upon. It's just like you said, it's a Zen state. I mean, just watching you now, man, you're in a Zen state now.
It actually creates dopamine to make tea.
Yeah, I feel so good right now. I'm feeling really, really good.
Well, that's like I say. Well, man, I kind of think we've kind of gone around really what I really wanted to sort of talk to you about, and we've kind of gone over the voting procedures, what's going on with the safe. I mean, again, most people would know that if they want to follow what's going on with your procedures and what's going on anything with the SafeExchange, just go to the forum. I mean, that's and follow you on just follow type in Dali Shala and you'll soon find out things about the SafeExchange. So that's where people can keep an eye on that. Again, to you, Lee, I mean, maybe while we're in this sort of discussion, where can people sort of keep an eye on what you're doing with your wiki being and stuff like that? And again, is there anything maybe to people listening that you could if anyone wanted to, is there any particular skills or resources or anything particular that maybe someone listening you particularly require, or anywhere they can reach out to you and just generally get involved?
Yeah, actually, on my Minds channel, I just created something cool. I used the peer-in embedded function to put into the HTML of the blog there, and it's kind of the blog tools that are on Minds kind of suck because they're WordPress and they're just limited. But you can still do a couple of things. I want to try to figure out how to do WebRTC and encrypted chat, but so far all I can do is a peer-in embedded chats, and so you can just go to that Minds channel, Lee Travis, and look at the blogs. There's only one, and you can message me and we can have a video chat there. So it's called Video Lee.
Oh, perfect, man. Well, look, it's been an absolute an honor and a privilege, man, just to because I know how busy you've been the last 2 weeks, particularly Daniel. So I want to thank you particularly for your time you've given me tonight. And again, I look forward to when you do kind of get out of this, like you said, and you're working in the Rust and you're in that creative flow, man. Maybe we can catch you in an hour when you're in that really heightened state of creativity, because I think I'd love to talk to you in that moment there. But again, from me over, to Daniel, and again to you, Lee, and it's thank you for giving me your time, and a belated happy birthday for yesterday, dude. So I might as well put that out in the open public.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a great day. I got up in the morning and it was a beautiful day, and then my neighbor's house burned down to the ground. We all watched it, and the whole it was kind of cool in a way because the whole neighborhood totally got together, and there's nothing anybody could do. The fire department did their job, but yeah, and I'm sure something will come of it for the family that has to be homeless right now, but I think that they'll have insurance and whatnot and get a new home. And so anyway, thanks for inviting me on to Life is People. It's always great, Dali. It's great to talk to you too.
Likewise.
You guys have a good evening.
Well, perfect. Well, before I do this wrap up, I just want to give one little kind of shout out to Jen. I know she's had a sort of rough couple of weeks. So if you're listening here, Jen, I wish you all the best, and good recoveries in after your kind of tough couple of weeks. And so I just want to put out there. Well, from over in Scotland, I'm going to say life is people.